Hello and welcome back to my channel. On this episode of Men Are Gross and Police Are Gross and Women Can Do Everything Right, but we still can't stop men from being gross. And don't come in my comments and say not all men. We understand that it's not all men. But again, to have this conversation, you have to acknowledge as men that there is a problem and that women have to worry about it. Because just saying not all men and then excusing yourself from the conversation is not helping anyone. Because it is not our job to keep y'all from assaulting us. It is your job to keep y'all from assaulting us. That's right. It's not women's job to keep men from not assaulting. It is men's jobs not to assault and to keep other men from assaulting because it's not our responsibility. We are not the villains here. So stop crying victim. You are not the victim. All right. So Sarah Everard, a marketing executive, disappeared on March 3rd after leaving her friend's house in Chaplin Common and going to her house or walking back to her home in Brixton at about 9 p.m. And everybody is talking about how she did everything right, but she was still abducted, murdered, and assaulted by a police officer, and her body was found in a wooded area fairly recently. There was a vigil that was meant to be held for her yesterday, I believe, and even though they said that they were pulling the protection and everything, people still showed up. And the cops acted horrifically to the people that showed up to lay flowers and to pay their respects to this beautiful woman whose life was snuffed out for no reason. For absolutely no reason. Because there were warning signs that this cop was a problem. He had allegations against him. He had issues with doing things like exposing himself. Like, there's a past and a history here where we can see what led up to this, but yet nothing was done about it. And when people went to go to the vigil, they were pinned to the ground. They were arrested. Flowers were trampled. People were hurt. And men are now saying, not all men, and they're trying to obfuscate themselves from the conversation. And they don't get to do that. First off, she quote-unquote did everything right. She shouldn't have to have done everything right to not be a victim. Women simply existing does not make us cannon fodder for bad men. It doesn't. It is not, I cannot repeat this enough, our responsibility. It is also not our responsibility to keep police at bay when we're just trying to have a vigil for another human being who was murdered by one of their own. There are iconic pictures of women being pinned down with knees on their backs from the cops and trampling over her flowers and just acting all up in a fool with what is going on with her. And they are, quote unquote, doing an investigation into what happened, but if it's anything like the American police, nothing will be done. Because nothing is ever done. Because apparently we have this firm belief that police are above the law no matter where you go, which I do not understand. But again, she was a person. She has a family that is now mourning the loss of their daughter, their sister, their friend. Because she walked home. That was it. That's all she did. She walked home. And someone decided to take advantage of that. It's a real fear for women all around the world. Men don't walk with keys in their hands in case they have to be attacked. They don't walk with one earbud out of their ear when they leave their house to go for a walk. They're not looking at every ounce of their surroundings hoping that someone doesn't attack them. They're not checking their backseat to make sure nobody's in it. Because we have to be extra vigilant. I keep my hand over a drink when I'm somewhere in public because I don't know who's going to stick what in my drink. I mean, these are just things that we were raised to checklist and make sure that we're safe. And even when we do everything right, that's quote unquote on y'all's checklist for us, even though she did everything right, still blaming her too. I see people blaming her in the comments. Why was she walking in home by herself? Again, it is not her job to keep from being a victim. It is the person that is victimizing her's job to not victimize her, not to murder her. Is it too much to ask to not be murdered? So stop saying not all men. Stop it. That conversation, no, you need to be part of the conversation. You need to be part of the active solution to protecting women. We are half the population. we should not have to be in fear of the other half of what the other half of the population is going to do to us. This is basic. Absolutely freaking basic. And what the cops did to the women that showed up for the vigil is absolutely disgusting and aggravates the crap out of me. This is not okay. None of what is happening right now is okay, and it really, really, really needs to stop.